All right, all praise, glory, excuse me, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High Elohim of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I want to say peace to each and every one of you in the name of His Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, who we know as Jesus the Christ. So it's a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you, bring a message contained in His Word. I never count it as a light thing to do so. In today's message, I'm answering a question concerning Great Tribulation, and the question was, are we actually to literally flee prior to Great Tribulation? Well, let's go find that out. And this is an important question. Look at what's going on right now in the world. Quite frankly, I've been in the world a couple of decades now, and the things that are happening now, you thought, you like you close, you thought y'all, I mean, we close to the second coming. Certainly, if you after the coming of the Lord, you're in the last days. But the stuff that's happened now wasn't it wasn't anywhere near like it was back then. It is you can definitely see things falling into place. But now let's pick it up at I want to pick it up in Matthew the 24th chapter. Matthew the 24th chapter, we get great insight into this time just prior to his coming, and that's why the Great Tribulation is so important. Number one, this is the big event that happens just prior to his coming, and number two, you need to know what to do. And there's huge falsehood regarding, when I say huge, I mean it one of the worst doctrines of all time is this doctrine of a rapture. There is no rapture before Great Tribulation. There is no 3.5 year tribulation or 7 year tribulation. In the midst of the tribulation, you got a rapture. There's no rapture before tribulation. There's no mid rapture, in the middle of Great Tribulation. There is no rapture at all. But if you waiting on a rapture to occur, and when it doesn't occur, a lot of people's faith's gonna crumble, right? Because they built that. It's like you building something on pudding. It's not a found. It's not strong, and it's such a terrible doctrine, and it's so easily refutable. But so many people believe it, and it's one of those things. It's kind of like when you tell somebody, "Hey, the dead are just that. They dead. They not. You don't have an eternal soul." It's hard for people to believe, but it's hard for people to believe that there is no rapture. But I'm here to tell you today that there is no rapture. Let's pick it with Matthew 24 and verse 3. In Matthew 24 and verse 3, it reads, "And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" Now, context here, they took him to show him the temple that Herod had built upon. It was reestablished after Babylonian captivity and Medo-Persian captivity, and there's Ezra and Nehemiah. And it was beautified and enlarged by King Herod, who was an Edomite. So they showed him the temple, the building of the temple. He said, "See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down." So they like, wait a minute, the temple's going to be destroyed? So they want to know. They come into him, put him to the second, like, hey, what's going on? That's when he's going to break it down. But it's twofold. Because yes, you had what's going to happen that he's prophesying of in the time of Rome, of the Romans with Titus, when they ransacked Jerusalem, right, in 70 AD. But not only that, he takes you even beyond us. So it lets you know that there has to be a temple rebuilt. And that's why I was saying, everything is in place right now. I mean, you have all the instruments of temple sacrifice. You have the red heifer that seems to be sacrificed for purification rites. You have they're false, but they have their so-called Kohani. That's the priest. Right, they're not the priest, but they're gonna build that temple. So now he said, tell us, when shall these things be? When shall be the sign of the coming of the end of the world? So he says, "Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying I am Christ, and shall deceive many." He talked about wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, earthquake, and disease. Right? He talked about all that being the beginning of sorrows. He talked about persecution. Right? He said the gospel is going to be spread out in the world. And then shall the end come. But notice, so that happened then. The gospel was preached, but it's going to be preached again. And I mean wholesale. Now, one thing also, he said something that's key in verse 15. He said in Matthew 24 and 15, "When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let them understand." What is that talking about? Why is he referring you back to Daniel rather? Because the book of Daniel is a figure in the book of Daniel. So Antiochus, Epiphanies. That's one pronunciation of it. There's several that I hear. But this evil, vile man, what did he do? He defiled the temple. He offered swine on the altar. He looked upon himself as the God. That's how he looked at himself, incarnate, right? Epiphanies, like the appearance of God. That's what epiphanies mean. So now in the book of Daniel, it said, some would say, you read some scholarship that he put not just swine in the altar, but an idol there. Because even when you look at the Greek here in 15 of Matthew 24 and 15, it seems like that that's referring to some object. Some would say, well, it's talking about a person. Well, we know there's going to be a person there, but it also could be an idol there. I believe it to be when you see the image that's set up, you should say, where's it set up? I'm talking about the one that he's going to give life to. I'm talking not Antiochus Epiphanes. This is going to be one coming out from the office of the papacy, and he's going to have power directly from Satan. He's going to set up an image, and he's going to get that image. Going to have power in the sense he's going to give it to give life to the image of the beast. Just like Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Daniel, he foreshadowed that. So I believe that image is going to be everybody don't believe that. This is what I'm saying. I believe this image is going to be in the temple. But now, if that's the case, what does that mean? That means that a temple has to be built, because we know the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. It was destroyed to the point where you read in primary sources, meaning those that were around at that time, it's like they say it's like the temple was not even there. So now there hasn't been a temple there in Jerusalem in 2,000 years, roughly. But there has to be one built. And then Paul is telling you that. So now let's go read that in 2 Thessalonians. Because again, the question is do you really have to flee? Well, first of all, you really have to know what's going on. You really have to see that a temple first has to be built. When you see that temple, you know you can almost start counting down. This is 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 1. Paul writes, "Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand." It said, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." Okay, so what has to happen prior to the Lord coming? Because they were concerned back here about him returning. This is 2,000 years ago. He said, don't be anxiety filled. Something has to happen first. First, you have to have apostasy within the church, and you see that happened. That happened already. But also, he said, you're going to see the manifestation or the appearance of the Son of Man. The man of sin. Not the Son of Man, the man of sin, the son of perdition. He has to be revealed. And we know who that is. He's coming out of the office of the papacy. Then it says, who opposeth and exalted themselves like Antiochus did, right? Blasphemy. This man's going to be a blasphemer. Vicar of Christ, replacement for the Son of God. It said, or that is worship, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So what does that mean? There has to be a temple. There's no temple right here. Just like he told you, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. It has to be a holy place or a temple for him to stand in. Well, that means they have to rebuild the temple, and they are doing everything in their power. They were just up there on the Temple Mount. They were just up there, prostrating, blowing a shofar, doing things that were just not that long ago where they were not allowed to do. Now, I don't believe that that's the actual temple location of the original temple for a number of reasons. I won't get into that right now, but nevertheless, he tells you what you should do. So now understand, remember the question that they asked. It was large in scope. He said, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Now that happens roughly. And so now they're asking them, tell us, when shall things be? When will this temple be destroyed? But then they go all the way even beyond us and say, and what should be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? So you have to read the prophecy like that. It's talking, you have to understand what's going on back then, but you need to understand about what's to come. And what's to come is, just like they should have fled back then, you need to flee at this particular time. So he told you in verse 16, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. They should have fled prior to being ransacked by the Romans. Because if you read the accounts, the historical accounts, what do we know? We know, like, from Babylon to Timbuktu, what did he say? That, hey, the markets were full of black Jewish slaves, right? The Judea, they were in the slave markets, all those that didn't get killed or didn't run into the interior of Africa. So now that's what we know. We know that was a terrible time. That was actually the end of Israel totally being a nation, to the point now where we just scattered in the diaspora. But now he says, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. That was true then, but it's going to be true again, because he's going to tell you something and you're going to know it goes beyond 70 AD. He says in verse 20, but pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Why? For then shall be great tribulation such as, this is how you know. He said, for then shall be great tribulation such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. There's no time in history that you can look at, it's so bad was it, hey, no flesh will be saved. No, this is talking about great tribulation. So just like it was time to flee back then, it's gonna be time to flee again. Just like you had one who was dealing in the temple, had an idol in the temple, who defiled the temple, you're gonna have another one that's going to do the same thing. That means you have to have a temple, and he's telling you to flee. Well, the book further gives you insight in this. Let's go to Revelation, the 12th chapter. Revelation 12, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Revelation 12 and verse 1 reads, and there appeared a great one in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. We know that this is referring to none other than Israel. How do you know this? If you go to the book of Genesis and you read about Joseph's dream, he's one of the patriarchs. Joseph's dream, he has a dream where the sun and the moon and 11 stars make obeisance unto him. And Jacob, his father, said, what shall I, your mother, your brother, show obeisance unto you? That's showing you this is a picture of Israel. So what's to happen to this woman that is called? This is symbolic. Okay. Notice what it says here, because I'm gonna skip down to the point that's pertinent to great tribulation. In verse 6, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had the place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days, 1,260 days. Okay, why is that important? Because 1,260 days is the time of great tribulation. 1,260 days, 40 and 2 months, times, and the dividing of times. Just to show you that, let's quickly go to Daniel, because he has a place prepared, and we're going to even look at where it's prepared. But Daniel, the 7th chapter first. Daniel, the 7th chapter, and notice what it says here in verse 25. It says, talking about this man of sin, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until the time, that's 1 year, and times, that's 2 years. So 1 + 2 is 3. And the dividing of time, that's a half, 3.5 years. Okay. So now he's going to be wreaking havoc on the saints, because everybody's not going to make it into this place of safety. Let's read that. So now chapter 12, and it says in verse 13, and the woman And when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. The man child is none other than Christ, right? Because the woman is Israel, Christ was an Israelite. And the woman, notice what it says here. And to the woman, that's Israel, were given 2 wings of a great eagle. This is figurative language. She's not literally on an eagle. It said that she might fly into the wilderness. This is talking about her deliverance into her place where she is nourished for a time. That's 1 year, and times that's 2 years. 1 + 2 is 3.5 a time. That's 3.5 years. From what? From the face of the serpent. And it said, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. So something happens when he tried to flood the woman out. And notice what it says. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman. Notice what it says here, because I said everybody not gonna make it into the place of safety. All believers not making it in. It said to the place of safety. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. And what's the criteria of a saint? Which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So they couple their faith with their obedience. But now let's go to let's go back to Daniel, the 11th chapter, because this is why I think this place of safety is in modern day Jordan. You literally have to flee to answer the question. Yes, you have to flee. That's what they were doing in Revelation 12. That's what was told in Matthew 24. So the brother asked the question. I'm answering a YouTube question. The brother asked the question, is this literal? Yes, you literally have to flee. Now, you got some that have fled. You got some, they've gone to different places. But what place is key? I think this needs to be certainly taken into consideration. This is Daniel the 11th chapter and verse 40. It says, and at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. And he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. He shall enter all Israel. So you got something, we want to go to Israel. Well, you understand what's going to happen then. It says, he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. Then it says, he shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. Notice who escapes. But these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab and the chief of the children of Ammon. I believe in these areas, Edom, Moab, and Ammon, in the wilderness areas of this land, which is present day Jordan, is where the place of safety is, because these places escape this man. He shall stretch forth his hand also on. I'm gonna read it again. In verse 41, he shall enter also to the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab and the chief of the children of Ammon. If you look at that biblical map with those three, and then you look at a modern day map, that's Jordan. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to make away many. Someone say, well, how you know this not talking about somebody else? Verse 45, he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. See, and then what is go right in the first verse of the next chapter. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. See, they didn't have all these verses back in the day, just so you know, in chapters. It says, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. So that's just pointing you to a great tribulation. But what do you so is it to answer the brother's question? Yes, it is literal. You literally need to flee during the time of great tribulation, or prior to great tribulation. There's a place of safety at that time. There is no rapture. I'll say it again. No matter what anybody says to you, there is no rapture in the Bible. That is a false doctrine that's going to set so many people up for failure. Because if you look to be I heard somebody just yesterday, because I listen, I look at things pertaining to the temple, I would say almost every day. Practically I would say almost every single day. And I just heard somebody saying, he was talking about how close things seem to be. And then what did he say? He said that means we could be raptured at any time. There is no rapture, brothers and sisters. There is no rapture. And I've dealt with that on this page. I don't know how many times. Maybe I will again. If somebody has a specific question, I can answer that another time. But there is no rapture from great tribulation. There is the wilderness, but or the place of safety. But even if you don't make it into the place of safety, what you have to do is keep your faith, because it's going to be a terrible time. Revelation, the 17th chapter, or the 13th chapter, excuse me. Revelation, the 13th chapter. Now, I alluded to this here. Revelation 13, it says, not beheld, in 11, it says, not beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. Okay, so this beast coming out of the sea or out of humanity represents a composite beast, if you will. It's the reunification of the Roman Empire. That's what it equates to. And it says, he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Just like the Egyptian magicians did some of their miracles, they had power from Satan or Satan. That's the same thing. That he have power. He has power from Satan. That's why I tell you, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon, which is Satan, gave him his power and his seat and great authority. But notice what it says here in verse 14. And he deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. That's the mark of the beast that people talk about. We can talk about that at a later date. It said that no man might buy, sell, save here, except, that's what save means, he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. What is the number of a man? And his number is 603 666. That number is vicarious. That means vicarious Philaday. All right, that's the vicar for the Son of God. Okay, the replacement for the Son of God. This is what the Pope has called himself in the past. But now, what's going to happen if you take that mark of the beast? Because you can't. That's why I say you got to keep your faith, even if you don't get into the place of safety. Right. This is right in Revelation 14. He said, and in verse 9, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead on his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. So you're gonna be damned to hell if you take the mark of the beast. Okay, so that's how you know you can't do that. All right, so it's very important that we know what's going on. Okay, and with that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we are meeting in New Jersey now every Sabbath we're at the Comfort Suites at 1275 Route 109 South Avenel, New Jersey. That's at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, I was just out there fellowshipping with the brothers and the sisters, and it was a wonderful experience. And Lord will I'll be back very soon. But that's 1275 Route 109 South Avenel, New Jersey. 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have a congregation in Virginia. We meet at the Red Roof Inn of Stafford, Virginia, at 153 Garrisonville Road, Stafford, Virginia, at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, that's Roof Inn, 153 Garrisonville Road, Stafford, Virginia. So if you're located anywhere near these places, we invite you to come out and worship with us. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to say peace to everybody that's listening. And it is always my prayer that you are edified.